Good morning, it's Monday, it's the 11th of October and the top story this morning is the Metropolitan Police are taking no further action following a review into sexual abuse allegations surrounding Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein.
Virginia Giuffre claims that she was trafficked to the Prince by the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein when she was 17. The Duke of York has consistently denied the allegations. A civil lawsuit in the United States is still ongoing. Graham Satchell reports.
This is the now famous photograph of Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre, taken more than 20 years ago when she was just 17. Miss Giuffre claims she was trafficked to the UK and sexually assaulted by Prince Andrew, a claim the Prince denies. This is Miss Giuffre last year with her legal team. She's bringing a civil case against the Duke of York in America. The court documents claim Prince Andrew sexually abused her, knowing she was a child. The Met Police have conducted a series of reviews into the allegations against Prince Andrew and started another one when details of the civil case became clear. Speaking last year, the Met Commissioner, Dame Cressida Dick, said no one is above the law. Now, in a statement, the Met say they have concluded their review and will be taking no further action. Miss Giuffre is alleged to have been trafficked to the UK by the American financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein took his own life in a New York jailhouse in 2019. Epstein and Prince Andrew were friends for a number of years. There have been previous reviews into the allegations against Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. Explaining their decision to take no further action in those cases, the Met said any investigation into human trafficking would be largely focused on activities and relationships outside the UK, and that the Metropolitan Police Service was not the appropriate authority to conduct inquiries in these circumstances. Prince Andrew has retired from royal duties, is rarely seen in public. The outcome of this review means there's no prospect of a formal criminal investigation here in the UK, but the Met say they will continue to liaise with other law enforcement agencies. Graham Satchell, BBC News.
Talks will continue today between the government and representatives from the industry struggling because of the rise in energy prices.
Some manufacturers have warned that they may have to shut down operations without government help.
Let's speak now to our chief political correspondent, Adam Fleming. Adam, good morning to you. Happy Monday. Rising energy prices are becoming a real problem, aren't they, for so many areas of government?
Well, yeah, they're becoming a problem for householders because people's bills are starting to arrive since the energy cap has gone up, and it looks like these higher energy prices are going to be around for a while, so those bills could stay high for a while longer. You mentioned the fact that those industries that use a lot of energy, like the steel industry and aluminium and the production of glass, they really feel the increased cost because they use a lot of gas and electricity. And so they're going to be having another meeting with the government today asking for help from the government. It's proving to be a bit of a tricky thing for the relationship between the government departments as well, because yesterday we had the business secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, going on television saying, I'm speaking to the Treasury to help try and find a way through this for companies. And then just a few minutes later, you had the Treasury making it clear to journalists that no, there weren't any discussions because they really don't want to be spending taxpayers' money to prop up companies just as they're dealing with their bills coming in. And also, in the next few weeks, in the build-up to that big climate change conference that's going to be hosted by the UK in Glasgow in November, we're going to start hearing more policies from the government about that shift to net zero, to reducing our carbon emissions, which will require quite a lot of investment, some of it by companies, but also some of it borne by households and bill payers as well. So it's all kind of coming together to be quite a big deal, actually.
OK, Adam, thank you very much for that. We'll discuss that a little bit later in the programme as well.
There was some good news for the steel industry, which has been hard hit by those price rises. One of the UK's largest manufacturers, Liberty, will reopen its plant in Rotherham. The firm has secured a £50 million cash injection, which it says will guarantee more than 600 jobs at the South Yorkshire site. Liberty's future was thrown into doubt earlier this year after the collapse of its major financial backer, Greensill Capital.
From today, people in Wales will need a pass to access venues like clubs and large-scale events. They are compulsory for over 18s and show people have either tested negative on a lateral flow test in the past 48 hours or are fully vaccinated against COVID. Wales's rugby game against New Zealand on October the 30th will be one of the first mass events to require a COVID pass.
Prince of Wales has warned of the catastrophic impact if more ambitious action isn't taken to deal with climate change.
This is in a build-up to the crucial summit on the issue in Glasgow, which takes place later this month. His Royal Highness also said he understood the frustration felt by climate protesters. He's been speaking to our climate editor, Justin Rowland.
The narrative has changed. You know, and lots of the things that you said are now mainstream.
It's taken far too long.
World leaders are gathering in Glasgow to talk about the kind of issues that you were...
Yeah, but they just talk. And the problem is to get action on the ground, which is what I've been trying to do for the last 40 years.
What about the people who protest? What about kind of Extinction Rebellion? Do you understand why they go
Yes,
out
of course
and
I
disrupt
do.
the streets?
Yes, but it isn't helpful, I don't think, to do it in a way that alienates people. So I totally understand the frustration. The difficulty is how do you direct that frustration in a way that is more constructive rather than destructive. So, I mean, the point is that people should really notice how despairing so many young are.
And you can see a longer version of that interview here on Breakfast just after 6:30 this morning.
Travel restrictions between the UK and dozens of long-haul destinations like Mexico and South Africa will be lifted from today.
47 countries were removed from the red list at 4 a.m. this morning, meaning arrivals from those locations will no longer need to spend 11 nights in a quarantine hotel.
After more than 100 days in lockdown, coronavirus restrictions are being eased in the Australian state of New South Wales for people who are fully vaccinated.
But social distancing restrictions and limits on public gatherings will remain in place for weeks. We are joined now from Sydney by our Australia correspondent Shaima Khalil. Morning to you, Shaima. A big day for millions of people there.
Morning, guys. Yes, very, very exciting day. It is the first step out of lockdown after more than 100 days, almost 4 months. Yes, there are going to be limitations and restrictions still in place, but for those residents in New South Wales who've had their double jabs, life is going to look a lot different. Now that the state has reached 70% vaccination rates, cafes, restaurants, pubs, gyms and hairdressers are open. It was really nice to get the morning coffee today and actually see the local cafes open up with tables and chairs ready for customers. Some people decided to start the day as early as 6 a.m. in the gym. I won't be doing that anytime soon, but I did get a hair appointment. That's my big news. And while all of this is quite exciting, there are restrictions in place. So up to 20%, 20 people maximum are going to be allowed indoors with masks and social distancing still mandatory. But the big feature of this reopening is going to be that businesses will have to make sure that customers show proof of vaccination. Now, there have been talks about COVID passports, but I think right now it's the New South Wales Health Official Certificate. It will be interesting to see how that pans out, and also if there's any fallout from those who haven't had their second jab yet and feel left out. But generally, New South Wales is the first state in Australia to essentially open up and move from zero COVID or elimination to actually trying to live with the virus and ramp up those vaccination rates. So the rest of the country will be watching closely to see how living with the virus works, day to day, the practicalities of this and how it will look like.
Shaima, did you ever think you would be so excited to get your hair cut? It's great to see you. Well done. We'll talk to you soon, Shaima Khalil.
Well,
Thank you.
That was a big moment when you come
goodness,
out of lockdown, you can get your barnet done.
We finally got to the hairdressers, yes.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.